Hi, so my name is Dana Jeffrey. I am doing a presentation on Northern Ontario and Canadian culture. It's a guide to Canadian slash Northern culture and what it means by me, Dana Jeffrey. So stereotypes and stigmas. So I have lived in Northern Ontario community my entire life. I was born and raised in Sudbury, Ontario. We are considered the capital of the Northern Ontario due to our size and population, sitting at a population of approximately 164,926 as of 2017. It is said around 3/4 of the Ontario population is residents of Southern Ontario. Therefore, living in a northern community comes with its stereotypes and stigmas. I've heard stereotypes like we all live around polar bears, which I've never actually seen a polar bear. um, we're all lower class. We all play hockey. We all live in cabins or ice huts, etc. Canadian traditions. Many Canadian traditions come in the form of holidays. We celebrate birthdays in large ways, usually with parties, cakes, presents. Canadians also celebrate things like graduating from high school, graduating from college, and grade school. We celebrate engagements, birth announcements, and baby showers. Anytime we have, pretty much anytime we have a big life change, we have a big party to celebrate that. So some holidays that we celebrate include Halloween, Christmas, Easter, May 2-4 weekend, which is on May 24th, and then Canada's Day, which is on July 1st. Other cultures and making adjustments. Although Canadians have their own culture, Canada is home to many different cultures in itself, being a country founded on immigration. With that being said, it is hard in certain situations for me to understand other cultures and traditions. Some of these cultural differences are even native to Canada. For example, when I travel to Quebec to visit friends and I try to communicate with people who are native to the area, it's difficult for me to understand them as I do not speak French or have a French accent. It is also difficult having communications with certain Indigenous people who have accents as well. And might I throw in also people native to Newfoundland and Labrador speak with an accent as well. Although there's Canada is one country, there are accents and different languages and stuff like that. So Canada's history of settlement and colonization has made a society of three main peoples: British, French, and Indigenous. However, there are many other racial and ethnic groups in Canada as well. So the three main groups being British, French, and Indigenous to be the first of the peoples in Canada and the first of the peoples to Canada. So although Canada is made up of many different cultures, races, and ethnicities, there's still a large gap in resources to include these other cultures in what we consider normal. Due to colonization and residential school, many Indigenous cultures have lost their meaning of tradition and language. So tips on how to resolve conflict with a language barrier. So using plain language is super important. So things like yes, no, shaking your head, nodding your head, visual methods of communication, being respectful, enlist interpreters or Google Translate if there's no interpreters available, use hand gestures to express certain concepts, build on your active listening skills, so really listen to what the other person is saying, and use neutral terms. Like I said before, yes or no would be also a neutral term. So although there are only two official Canadian languages, French and English, there are over 70 Aboriginal languages being spoken across Canada. So the four most popular Aboriginal languages include Cree, Inuktitut, Ojibwe, and Dinan. So I have a story of conflict resolution in my own experience. I've personally experienced many other cultures while living in Northern Ontario. One of the most prominent of my experiences was when I was a surrogate mother for a Chinese Canadian family. Seeing that I was carrying a baby who would be half Chinese and who will be raised in a Chinese cultured household, I took it upon myself to learn about Chinese culture, One of the more challenging experiences for me was meeting the parents of the mother who traveled from China to Canada to meet me. She did not speak any English, however, we did have a mutual respect for each other, which was made by communicating with which has made communicating easier. Our smiles and body language was all we needed at times to show our admiration for each other. It was a wonderful experience meeting her. So, even though we didn't speak the same language and we often needed her son to interpret for us, it was we didn't really we also didn't need her son to interpret for us at times, because there was just kind of a mutual understanding, which I thought was pretty cool. So to conclude, with so many different languages and cultures in Canada, it is an amazing place to have lived and grown up. I feel pride in calling myself Canadian, even though things might not be perfect. Learning and understanding another person's culture is a huge part of cultural competency. Respect and admiration is key in coming together as one people to embrace our cultural differences. Thank you for coming to my presentation.